We now know that in the early years of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's and yet as mortal as his own. We now know that as human beings busied themselves about their various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied, that scrutinized as narrowly as man with a microscope might scrutinize the transient creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. With infinite compliance, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of the domination over this small, steady fragment of solar driftwood, which, by chance or design, man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space. Yet across an immense ethereal gulf, minds that are to our minds as ours are to beasts in the jungle, intellects vast, cool, and unsympathetic, regarded this earth with envious eyes, and slowly, surely, drew their plans against us. In the 38th year of the 20th century came the great disillusionment. It was near the end of October. Business was better. The war scare was over. More men were back at work. Sales were picking up. On this particular evening, October 30th, the Crossley Service estimated that 32 million people were listening in on radios.
For the next 24 hours, not much change in temperature. A slight atmospheric disturbance of undetermined origin is recorded over Nova Scotia, causing a low-pressure area to move down rather rapidly over the northeastern states, bringing a forecast of rain, accompanied by winds of light gale force. Maximum temperature is 66, minimum 48. This weather report comes to you from the Government Weather Bureau. We now take you to the Meridian Room in the Hotel Park Plaza in downtown New York, where you will be entertained by the music of Ramon Raquello and his piano.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the Meridian Room of the Park Plaza Hotel in New York City. We now will have the piano music of Ramon Raquello and his first tune in Spanish, La Comparsita.
Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt our program of dance music to bring you a special bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, Professor Farrell of the Mount Jennings Observatory, Chicago, Illinois, reports observing several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars. The spectroscope indicates the gas to be hydrogen and moving towards the Earth with enormous velocity. Professor Pearson of the observatory at Princeton confirms Farrell's observation and describes the phenomenon as, quote, like a jet of blue flame shot from a gun, unquote. We now return you to music of Ramon Raquello, playing for you in the Meridian Room of the Park Plaza Hotel, situated in downtown New York.
And now a tune that never loses favor, the ever-popular Stardust by the piano music of Ramon Raquello.
Ladies and gentlemen, following the news given in our bulletin a moment ago, the Government Meteorological Bureau has requested the large observatories of the country to keep an astronomical watch on any further disturbances occurring on planet Mars. Due to the unusual nature of this occurrence, we have arranged an interview with the noted astronomer, Professor Pearson, who will give us his views on this event. In a few moments, we will take you to the Princeton Observatory at Princeton, New Jersey. We return you until then to the music of Ramon Rapallo and his piano. We are now ready to take you to the Princeton Observatory where Carl Phillips, our commentator, will interview Professor Richard Pearson, famous astronomer. We take you now to Princeton, New Jersey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Phillips speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton. I'm standing in a large semicircular room, pitch black, except for an oblong slit in the ceiling. Through this opening, I can see a sprinkling of stars that cast a frosty glow over the intricate mechanism of the huge telescope. The ticking sound you hear is the vibration of the clockwork. Professor Pearson stands directly above me on a small platform, peering through the giant lens. I ask you to be patient, ladies and gentlemen, during any delay that may arise out of our interview. Besides the ceaseless watch of the heavens, Professor Pearson may be interrupted by telephone or other communication. During this period, he's in constant touch with the astronomical centers of the world. Professor, may I begin our question?
At any time, Mr. Phillips.
Professor, would you please tell the radio audience exactly what you see as you observe the planet Mars through the telescope?
Nothing unusual at the moment, Mr. Phillips. Red disk swimming in a blue sea, redless stripes across the disk. White stick out because Mars happens to be at a point nearest the Earth, in opposition, as we call it.
In your opinion, what do these transverse stripes signify, Professor Pearson?
Not good else, I can assure you, Mr. Phillips. Although that's the popular conjecture of those who imagine Mars to be inhabited. From a scientific viewpoint, the stripes are merely the result of atmospheric conditions peculiar to the planet.
Then you're quite convinced, as a scientist, that living intelligence, as we know it, does not exist on Mars.
I should say the chances against it are 1,000 to 1.
And yet, how do you account for these gaseous eruptions occurring on the surface of the planet at regular intervals?
Mr. Phillips, I cannot account for it.
By the way, Professor, for the benefit of our listeners, how far is Mars from Earth?
Approximately 40 million miles.
Well, that seems like a safe enough distance.
Professor Pearson, this pointer just arrived for you.
Thank you, Mary.
Just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Someone has just handed Professor Pearson a message. While he reads it, let me remind you that we are speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton, New Jersey, where we are interviewing the world-famous astronomer, Professor Pearson. One moment, please. Professor Pearson has passed me the message which he has just received. Professor, may I read the message to our listening audience?
Certainly, Mr. Phillips.
Ladies and gentlemen, I shall read you a wire addressed to Professor Pearson from Dr. Gray of the National History Museum, New York. Quote, 9:15 Eastern Standard Time. Seismographs have registered shocks of almost earth-rate proportion occurring within the radius of 20 miles of Princeton. Please investigate. Signed, Lloyd Gray, Astronomical Division, unquote. Professor Pearson, could this occurrence possibly have something to do with the disturbances observed on Mars?
Hardly, Mr. Phillips. This is probably a meteorite of unusual size, and its arrival at this particular time is merely a coincidence. However, we shall conduct a search as soon as daylight permits.
Thank you, Professor Pearson. Ladies and gentlemen, for the past 10 minutes, we've been speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton, bringing you a special interview with Professor Pearson, noted astronomer. This is Carl Phillips speaking. We return you to our New York studios.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the latest bulletin from the Intercontinental Radio News. Toronto, Canada. Professor Morris of Macmillan University reports observing a total of 3 explosions on the planet Mars between the hours of 7:45 p.m. and 9:20 p.m. Eastern Standard This confirms earlier reports received from American observatories. Now, near home comes a special bulletin from Trenton, New Jersey. It is reported that at 8:50 p.m., a huge flaming object believed to be a meteorite fell on a farm in the neighborhood of Grover's Mill, New Jersey, 22 miles from Trenton. The flash in the sky was visible within a radius of several hundred miles, and the noise of the impact was heard as far north as Elizabeth. We have dispatched a special mobile unit to the scene, and we'll have our commentator, Carl Phillips, give you a word description as soon as he can reach there from Princeton. In the meantime, we take you to the Hotel Martinet in Brooklyn, where Bobby Millette and his piano are offering a program of dance music. We take you to Grover's Mill, New Jersey.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Carl Phillips again. I'm at the Woolman Farm in Groversville, New Jersey. Professor Pearson and myself may be 11 miles from Princeton in 10 minutes. Well, I hardly know where to begin to paint you a word picture of the strange scene before my eyes. Like something out of the modern Arabian Nights. Well, I just got here. I haven't had a chance to look around yet. I guess that's it, yes. I guess that's the thing directly in front of me, half buried in a vast pit. It must have struck with terrific force. The ground is covered with splinters of a tree. It must have struck on its way down. What I can see of the object itself doesn't look much like a meteor. I'd like, at least not the meteors I've seen. It looks more like a huge cylinder. It has a diameter of, what would you say, Professor Pearson? What's that? What would you say, what's the diameter of this? About 30 yards. About 30 yards. The metal sheath is, well, I've never seen anything like it. The color is sort of a yellowish white. Curious spectators are pressing close to the object in spite of efforts of police to keep them back. They're getting in front of my line of vision. Would you mind standing to one side, ma'am? What side? What side? While the police are pushing the crowd back, here's Mr. and Mrs. Wilbur, owners of the farm here. They have some interesting facts to add. Mr. Wilbur, would you please tell the radio audience as much as you remember of the rather unusual visitor that brought into your backyard? Well, step closer, please, ladies and gentlemen. This is Mr. Wilbur. I was listening to the radio. Please, closer, louder. Louder to me. Yes, Mr. Wilbur. Mr. Wilbur, your story. Yes, sir. audience inside this thing.
Possibly the unequal pooling of the surface.
I see. Do you think it's a meteor, Professor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial, not found on this Earth. Friction with the Earth's atmosphere usually tears holes in the meteorite. This thing is smooth and, as you can see, of cylindrical shape.
Just a minute, something's happening, ladies and gentlemen. This is terrific. The end of this thing is beginning to play off. The top is beginning to rotate like a screw. The thing must be hollow.
He's moving.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the most terrifying thing I've ever witnessed. Wait a minute, someone's falling out of the hole on the top. Someone or something, I can see it coming out of the black hole with someone in the fist. Are they eyes? It might be a face. It might be. Good heavens, something is rearing out of the shadows like a flame spinning. And now there's another, and another, and another. They look like tentacles to me. There, I can see the thing's body. It's large and bare and glistening like wet leather. But that face, it's indescribable. I can hardly show myself to look at it. The eyes are black and gleaming like a serpent. The mouth is kind of V-shaped. The saliva dripping from tremulous lips. Could see the quivering pulse. The monster, or whatever it is, can hardly move. It seems to be weighted down by possibly gravity or something. The thing's rising up. The crowd goes back. They've seen enough. This is the most extraordinary experience. I can't find words. I'm pulling the microphone as we talk. I have to stop this description report. I can't understand. Hold on, will you please? I'll be right back in a minute.
I'm sorry, sir. I can't understand you. Has what language in your mouth? Martian, sir, don't be silly. You heard it on our broadcast? Sir, I can't understand you. You need to calm down and speak a little slower. Sir. Sir!
My husband and I were driving through the redwood forest in Northern California when the broadcast came on the radio. At first, they just landed in New Jersey, but then it was all over, even in California. There was no escape. All we could think of was to get back to LA to see our children again and be with them when it happened. We ran right past filling stations, not remembering that they were low on gas. In the middle of the forest, our gas ran out. There was nothing we could do. We just sat there, holding hands, expecting any minute to see those Martian monsters appear over the street. When Arson announced that it was Halloween prank, it was like being retrieved from the gas chamber. When those things landed, I thought the best thing to do was to go away. So I took $3.25 out of my savings and bought a ticket. After I bought about 60 miles, I heard it was called a sled. Now I don't have any money left for the shoes I was saving for. Will you have someone send me a pair of black shoes, size 9A? Dad kept calling, "Oh God, do what you can to save us." My knees were shaking so I could hardly climb the stairs. I found my nephew had come home and gone to bed. I woke him up. I looked into the ice box and saw chicken leftovers from Sunday night dinner. But I have to save it for Monday night. I said to my nephew, "We may as well eat this chicken. We're not going to be here in the morning." When I heard on the radio the end of the year, I decided I needed to talk to someone. One went to Catholic Church down the street. I needed to talk to God. Being Jewish, I had no idea where to go once I got there. There must have been at least 50 people outside waiting to get in. Men, women, children, white and colored, all wanting to praise God that they would live.
we are bringing to you an eyewitness account of what's happening on Wilmot Farm, Groversville, New Jersey. We now return to Carl Phillips at Grover's Mill.
Ladies and gentlemen, am I on? Ladies and gentlemen, here I am in the back of the wall, the stone wall that joins the Wilmot Garden. From here I can sweep the whole scene. I'll give you every detail as long as I can talk, as long as I can see. More state police have arrived. They're drawing a cordon up around the pit. About 30 of them. No need to push the crowd back now. They're willing to keep their distance. The captain is conferring with someone. We can't quite see who. Oh yes, I believe it's Professor Pearson. Yes, it is. Now they've parted. The professor moves to one side, studying the object, while the captain and two policemen advance with something in their hands. I can see it now. It's a white handkerchief, Michael. A pole. A flag of truce. If those creatures know what that means, know what anything means, wait. Something's happening. The hitchhiker is rising out of the pit. I can make some small people running against the mirror. What's that? There's a flame of jet springing from the mirror. It looks like it's going to win. It strikes them down. Look on. They're taking the flames. The whole thing is on fire. The walls are down. They're facing all the pills. It's coming everywhere. It's coming in flame. It's all coming everywhere.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Grover's Mill. Evidently, there is some difficulty with our field transmission. However, we will return to that point at the earliest opportunity. In the meantime, we have a bulletin from San Diego, California. Professor Indolov is speaking at a dinner of the California Astronomical Society, expressed the opinion that explosions on Mars are undoubtedly nothing more than volcanic disturbances on the surface of the planet. We continue now with our panel interview. Ladies and gentlemen, I have just been handed a message that came in from Grover's Mill by telephone. Just a moment, please. At least 40 people, including 6 state troopers, lie dead in the field east of the village of Grover's Mill. Their bodies burned and distorted beyond all possible recognition. The next voice you hear will be that of Brigadier General Montgomery Smith, commander of the state militia at Trenton, New Jersey.
I've been requested by the government of New Jersey to place the kind of Mercer and Middlesex as far west as Princeton and East Jamesburg under martial law. No one will be permitted to enter this area except by a special pass issued by the state-owned military authorities. 4 companies of state militia are proceeding from Trenton to Grover's Mill and will aid in the evacuation of homes within the range of military operations. Thank you.
You have just been listening to General Montgomery Smith, commanding the state militia at Trenton. In the meantime, further details of the catastrophe at Grover's Mill are coming in. The strange creatures, after unleashing their deadly assault, crawled back in their pit and made no attempt to prevent the efforts of firemen to recover the bodies and extinguish the fire. Combined fire departments in Mercer County are fighting the flames, which menace the entire countryside. We have been unable to establish any contact with our mobile unit at Grover's Mill, but we hope to be able to return you there at the earliest possible moment. In the meantime, we take you to just a moment, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I have just been informed that we have finally established communication with an eyewitness of the tragedy. Professor Pearson has been located at a farmhouse near Grover's Mill, where he has established an emergency observation post. As a scientist, he will give you this explanation of the calamity. The next voice you hear will be that of Professor Pearson, brought to you by a direct wire. Professor Pearson.
Of the creatures in the rocket cylinder at Grover's Mill, I can give you no authoritative information either as to their nature, their origin, or their purposes here on Earth. Of their destructive instruments, I might venture some conjectural explanation. For want of a better term, I shall refer to the mysterious weapon as a heat ray. It is also evident that those creatures have scientific knowledge far in advance of our own. It is my guess that in some way they are able to generate an
Here's a bulletin from Trenton. In a brief statement informing us that the charred body of Carl Phillips has been identified in the Trenton Hospital. Now here's another bulletin from Washington, D.C. The Office of the Director of the National Red Cross reports 10 units of Red Cross emergency workers have been assigned to the headquarters of the state militia stationed outside of Groversville, New Jersey. Here's a bulletin from State Police Princeton Junction. The fires at Groversville and vicinity are now under control. Scouts report all quiet in the pit and no signs of life appearing from the mouth of the cylinder. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special statement from Mr. Terry McDonald, Vice President in charge of operations.
We have received a request from the militia at Trenton to place at their disposal our entire broadcasting facility. In view of the gravity of the situation, we believe the radio has a definite responsibility to serve the public interest at all times. We are turning over all our facilities to the state militia at Trenton.
We take you now to the field headquarters of the state militia near Groversville, New Jersey.
This is Captain Lasky of the Signal Corps attached to the state militia, now engaged in military operations in the vicinity of Groversville. The situation arising out of the reported presence of certain individuals of unidentified nature is now completely under control. The cylindrical object which lies directly in front of me in the pit is surrounded on all sides by 8 battalions of infantry without heavy field pieces, but adequately armed with rifles and machine guns. All cause for alarm, if such cause ever existed, is now entirely unjustified. The things, whatever they are, do not seem to poke their heads above the pit. I can see their hiding place plainly in the glare of the searchlights. With all the reported resources, these creatures could hardly stand up against heavy machine gun fire. Anyway, it's a nice outing for our troops. I can make out their khaki uniforms crossing back and forth in front of the lights. It almost looks like a real war. There appears to be some slight smoke in the woods bordering the Millstone River. Probably a fire started by campers. Well, we ought to see some action soon. One of the companies is deploying on the left flank. A quick thrust and it's all over. Now wait a minute. I see something on the top of the cylinder. Oh, no, it's nothing but a shadow. Now the troops from the edge of the Roman farm. 7,000 armed men closing in on the metal tube. Wait, that wasn't a shadow. Something is moving. Something solid metal. A shield like there is rising out of the cylinder. It's going higher and higher. It's standing on legs, actually rearing up. There's sort of a framework. Now it's reaching above the trees. I can see the searchlights. Hold on!
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a great announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars. The battle which took place tonight at Groversville has ended in one of the most startling defeats ever suffered by a modern army. 7,000 men armed with rifles and machine guns pitted against a single fighting machine of the invaders from Mars. 120 known survivors. The rest strewn over the battle area from Groversville to Plainsboro are crushed and trampled to death under the metal feet of the monster, or burned to cinders by its heat rays. The monster is now in control of the middle section of New Jersey and has effectively cut the state through its center. Communication lines are down from Pennsylvania to the Atlantic Ocean. Railroad tracks are torn and service from New York to Philadelphia is discontinued except routing some of the trains through Allentown and Phoenixville. Highways to the north, south, and west are clogged with frantic human traffic. Police and armed reserves are unable to control the Detroit. By morning, the fugitives will have swallowed to Philadelphia, Camden, and Trenton. It is established to twice the normal population. Martial law prevails throughout New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania. We take you now to Washington for a special broadcast on the national emergency. The Secretary of the Interior.
Citizens of the nation, I shall not try to conceal the gravity of the situation that confronts the country, nor the concern of your government in protecting the lives and property of its people. However, I wish to impress upon all of you, private citizens and public officials, contributing to the preservation of human supremacy on this earth. I thank you.
You have just heard the Secretary of the Interior speaking from Washington. Bulletins too numerous to read are piling up in the studio here. We are informed that the central portion of New Jersey is blacked out from radio communications due to the effect of the heat ray upon power lines and electrical equipment. Here is a special bulletin from New York. Cables received from English, French, and German scientific bodies offering assistance. Astronomers report continued gas outbursts at regular intervals on the planet Mars. Majority voice opinion is that one may well be reinforced by additional rocket machines. There have been several attempts made to locate Professor Kirsten Princeton, who observed Martians at close range. It is feared he was lost in the recent battle. Langdon Field, Virginia, scouting planes reported 3 Martian machines visible above treetops moving north towards Somerville with population clean ahead of them. The heat ray not used, although advancing at express train speed. Invaders picked their way carefully. They seem to be making a conscious effort to avoid destruction of the cities and the countryside. However, they stopped to remove power lines, bridges, and railroad tracks. Their apparent objective is to crush resistance, paralyze communication, and disorganize human society. Here is a bulletin from Basking Ridge, New Jersey. Coon hunters have stumbled on a second cylinder, similar to the first, embedded in the Great Swamp, 20 miles south of Morristown. Army field pieces are proceeding to Newark to blow up the second invading unit before a cylinder can be opened and the fighting machine rigged. They are taking up position in the foothills of the Washington Mountains. Another bulletin from Langdon Field, Virginia. Scouting planes report enemy machines now 3 in number, increasing speed northward, kicking over houses and trees in their evident haste to form a conjunction with their allies south of Morristown. Machines also sighted by a telephone operator east of Middlesex, within 10 miles of Plainfield. Here is a bulletin from Winstonfield, Long Island. A fleet of army bombers carrying heavy explosives flying north in pursuit of the enemy. Scouting planes act as guides. They keep the speeding enemy in sight. Just a moment, please. Ladies and gentlemen, we run special wires to the artillery line in adjacent villages to give direct reports to the zone of the advancing enemy. First, we take you to the battery of the 22nd Field Artillery, located in the Washington Mountains.
Range 32 meters.
32 meters.
Projection 39 degrees.
39 degrees.
Fire!
140 yards to the right, sir.
Shift range 31 meters.
31 meters.
Projection 37 degrees.
37 degrees.
Fire!
I hit it, sir. We got the fire going on one of them. They stopped. The other is down in terror.
Quick, get the range. Shift is 30 meters.
30 meters.
Projection 27 degrees.
27 degrees.
Fire!
Can't see the young man, sir. They're letting all the smoke.
What is it?
A black smoke, sir. It's moving this way. Line close to the ground. It's moving fast.
Get ready to fire! Get to 24 meters! Projection 24 degrees!
There we have me, sir. It's smoke right here.
Get the range!
Train. It's train. Hey, you got it, all right?
Yeah, and we're okay. 23 meters! 23 meters! Projection 22 degrees! 22 degrees! Fire! Army bombing plane BA-43 off Bayonne, New Jersey. Lieutenant Boyd, commanding A. Bombers. Report to Commander Fairfax, Langdon Field. This is Boyd. Report to Commander Fairfax, Langdon Field. Enemy tripod machines now in sight. Reinforced by 3 machines from the Morristown cylinder. 6 altogether. One machine is partially crippled, believed hit by a shell from Army gun in Washington Mountains. Guns now appear silent. A heavy black fog is hanging close to the earth, of extreme density. Nature unknown. No sign of a heat ray. Enemy now turns east, crossing Passaic River into the Jersey marshes. Another straddles the Pulaski Skyway. Evident objective, New York City. Therefore, is Newark, New Jersey. Newark, New Jersey. Warning, ISIS black smoke pouring from the Jersey marshes. Reaches South Street, gas mask useless. Urge population to move into open spaces. Automobiles use Route 7, 23, 24. Avoid congested areas. Smoke now over Raymond Boulevard.
2X, 2L, LXCQ. 2X, 2L, LXCQ. 2X, 2L, calling 8X3R. Come in, please.
This is 8X3R. Back to you, 2X2L. Over.
House reception. Kate, please. Where are you, 8X3R? What's the matter? Where are you?
I'm speaking from a local broadcasting building. Speaking from a local broadcasting building in New York City. The building is now only one people to evaluate the city as elections approach. Estimated in the last 2 hours, 3 million people have moved out along the roads to the west. Buses and other Broadway is still kept open for motor traffic. Avoid buses to Long Island and Whole Foods to the gym. All communication with the Jersey Shore is closed and Roosevelt. There's no more business. CRV is blacked out. Air zone, the airport, everything is blacked out. This may be the last broadcast. We'll stay here to the end. People are hoping the sooner for us, which is people. Now I'm 700. All the air buses. They're overloaded with cleaning population pouring out from the dock. The streets are all jammed. Lights in the street like New York leaving the city. Wait a minute. The enemy is not upset about the brown face. Why fire machines? Where's Rose crossing the river? I can see it from here. It's raining around like a husband. It's raining a husband like a man waiting for a book. Bolton check from the exit. Marching soldiers are falling all over the countryside. One outside Buffalo, one in Chicago, St. Louis. I see these behind him in space. Now the one fishing races the shore. He stands watching, looking over the city. His steel towers are as equal as the skyscrapers. He waits for the others. They rise like flying blue towers on the city's west side. Now we're looking at another hand. This is the end. Smoke's coming out. Black smoke. It's looking at the city. People in the streets, I see it now. They're waiting for it to be delivered. Thousands of them. It's rocking like glass. Now the smoke's burning faster. It's reaching Times Square. People are trying to run away from it, but it's no use. They're falling like flies. Now the smoke's crossing Fifth Avenue. Fifth Avenue. 100 yards away. It's 50 feet.
Two X, 2L, LXCQ. 2X, 2L, LXCQ. 2X, 2L, LXCQ. New York. Is there anyone in the air? Is there anyone? 2X, 2L.
Mr. Wells, what is going on? The phone every stops ringing and everyone's in a panic. The people are taking it literally as well.
My boyfriend and I were at a party in the village. Someone turned on the radio. It was just when the Martians were spraying people and Rover Snow with heat ray. I was scared. I wanted to be with my family. This party broke up in a hurry. My friends were scattering in all directions. My boyfriend drove like crazy
obsessed by the thought that I may be the last living person on earth. I've been in hiding in a empty house near Grover's Mill, a small island of daylight cut off by the black smoke from the rest of these monstrous creatures. The world now seems part of another life, a life that has no continuity with the present, furtive existence of the lonely derelict who penciled these words on the back of some astronomical notes bearing the signature of Richard Pearson. I looked down at my blackened hands, my torn shoes, my tattered clothes, and I tried to connect them with a professor who lives at Princeton, and who on the night of October 30th glimpsed through this telescope an orange splash of light on a distant planet. My wife, my colleagues, my students, my books, my observatory, my world, where are they? They never exist. Am I Richard Pearson? What days do days exist without calendars? Does time pass when there are no human hands left to wind the clocks? In writing down my daily life, I told myself I shall preserve human history between the dark covers of this little book that was meant to record the movements of the stars. But to write I must live, and to live I must eat. I find moldy bread in the kitchen and an orange not too spoiled to swallow. I keep a watch at the window. From time to time I catch sight of a Martian above the black smoke. The smoke still holds the house in its black coil. Suddenly I see a Martian mounted on his machine, sprayed in the air with a jet of steam, as if to dissipate the smoke. I watch in the corner of his huge metal legs nearly brush against the house. Exhausted by terror, I fall asleep. This morning, sun streams in the window. The black cloud of gas has lifted, and scorched meadows to the north look as though a black snowstorm has passed over them. I venture from the house, make my way to the road, no traffic. Here and there, a car baggage overturned, a blackened skeleton. I push on north. For some reason, I feel safer trailing these monsters than running away from them, and I keep a careful watch. I have seen the Martians feed. Should one of them machines appear over the tops of the trees, I'm ready to fling myself flat on the earth. I come to a chestnut tree. October. Chestnuts are ripe. I fill my pockets. I must keep alive. 2 days I wandered in a vague northerly direction through a desolate world. Finally, I noticed a living creature, a small red squirrel in the beech tree. I stare at him in wonder. He stares back at me. I believe in that moment the animal and I shared the same emotion. The joy of finding another living being. I push on north. I find dead cows in brackish fields. Beyond the charred ruins of a dairy, the saddle perches a weathercock. The arrow points north. North. Next day I come to a city. A city vaguely familiar in its convoluted. Its buildings strangely dwarfed and leveled off as if a giant had sliced off its highest towers with a capricious sweep of his hand. I reached the outskirts. I found Newark. And demolished, but humbled by some whim of the advancing Martians. Presently, with an odd feeling of being watched, I caught sight of something crouching in a doorway. I made a step towards it, and it rose up and became a woman. A woman not armed with a large knife.
Stop! Where did you come from?
I come from many places. A long time ago, from Princeton.
Princeton, huh? That's near Grover's Mill.
Yes.
Grover's Mill. There's no food here. This is my country. All the center of town down to the river. There's only food for one. Which way are you going?
I don't came at last to the Howland Tunnel. We entered that silent tube, anxious to know the fate of the great city on the other side of the Hudson. Cautiously, we came out and made our way up Canal Street. We reached 14th Street, and there again were black powder and subtle bodies and an evil, ominous smell from the gratings of the cellars of some of the houses. We wandered up through the 30s and 40s. We stood alone in Times Square. We caught sight of a lean dog running down 7th Avenue with a piece of dark brown meat in his jaws and a pack of starving mongrels at his feet. He made a wide circle around us as though he feared we might prove a fresh competitor. We walked up Broadway in the direction of that strange powder. Past silent shop windows displaying their neat wares to empty sidewalks past the Capitol Theater. Silent, dark. Past the shooting gallery where a row of empty guns faced it and a rusted line of wooden ducks. Near Columbus Circle, I noticed models of 1939 motor cars and showrooms facing empty streets. From over the top of the General Motors building, I watched a flock of black birds circling in the sky. We hurried on. Suddenly, I caught sight of the hood of a Martian machine standing somewhere in Central Park, gleaming in the late afternoon sun. An insane idea. We rushed recklessly across Columbus Circle and into the park. We climbed a small hill above the pond on 16th Street, and from there I could see standing in a silent row along the wall 19 of those great metal titans, their cowls empty, their steel arms hanging listlessly by their sides. We looked in vain for the monsters that inhabited those machines. Suddenly my eyes were attracted to the immense flock of black birds that hovered directly below me. They circled to the ground, and there, before my eyes, stark and silent, lay the Martians with the hungry birds petting and tearing brown shreds of flesh from their dead bodies. Later, when the bodies were examined in laboratories, it was found that they were killed by the food-protected and disease bacteria against which their systems were unprepared. Slain after all man's defenses had failed, by the humblest thing that God in his wisdom put upon you. Before the cylinder fell, there was a general persuasion that through all the deep of space, no life existed beyond the petty surface of our minute spirit. Now we see further. Dim and wonderful was the vision I had conjured up in my mind of life spreading slowly from this little seabed of the solar system throughout the inanimate vastness of sidereal space. But the remote dream. Maybe that the destruction of the Martians is only a reprieve. To them, and not to us, is the future ordained, perhaps. Strange it now seems to sit in my peaceful study at Princeton, writing down this last chapter of the record begun at the deserted farm in Grover's Mill. Strange to watch children playing in the streets. Strange to see young people strolling on the green, where the new spring grass heals the last black scars of the bruised earth. Strange to watch the sightseers enter the museum where the dissembled parts of the Martian machine are kept on public view. Strange when I recall the time when I first saw it, bright and clean cut, hard and silent under the dawn of the last great day. Starting out, we couldn't soap all your windows and steal all your garden gates, so we did the next best thing. We We annihilated the earth and utterly destroyed CBS before your very ears. I hope you'll be relieved to learn that we didn't mean it, and that both institutions are still open for business. Goodbye, everybody, and please, for the next day or two, please remember the lesson that you learned here tonight, that green, glowing, globular invader of your living room is an inhabitant of the pumpkin patch. And if your doorbell rings and there's no one there, that was no Martian. It's Halloween!
At the height of the crisis, about 8:31, the Secretary of the Interior came on air with an exhortation to the American people to remain calm. Toward the end of the speech, about 8:32 Eastern Standard Time, Davidson Taylor, the supervisor of broadcast of the Columbia Broadcasting System, received a phone call in the control room, creased his lips, and hurriedly left the studio. By the time he returned, he was pale as death. He told us that reports had come in of thick clouds of heavy smoke having been seen rising over Newark, New Jersey, and that the Martians were now as tall as skyscrapers and astride the Pulaski Skyway, preparatory to meeting the Hudson River. You know, to us in the studio, the show seemed to be progressing splendidly. How splendidly Davidson Taylor had just learned outside. For several minutes now, a sort of madness seemed to be sweeping the continent, somehow connected with our show. The CBS switchboards were swamped into uselessness, but from outside, vague rumors were coming in of deaths and suicides, and panic injuries. I remember during the playing of the final theme that the phone rang in the control room, and a shrill voice announced itself through the receiver as the mayor of some Midwestern city, one of the big ones. He is screaming for Wells, choking with rage. He describes to Wells that there's mobs in the street of the city, women and children huddled in churches, violence and looting. Well, of course it hangs up quickly, for we're off air now, and the studio doors suddenly burst open. The following hours are a nightmare. The studio is suddenly filled with people in dark blue uniforms. We're hurried out of the studio, downstairs into a back office. Here we sit, incommunicado, while network employees are busily collecting, destroying, or locking up all the scripts and records of broadcast. Hours later, instead of arresting us, they let us out a back way. We scurry down to the theater like hunted animals to their hole. After all this, it's surprising to see life go on as usual in the midnight streets. And now we present our cast.
CBS.
Okay, that's fine. Full circle. All right, my mouth is short, but I want to scare the fans. Ready?
We have 5, 4, 3, 2.
The Columbia Broadcasting System and its affiliated stations present Orson Welles at the Mercury Theater on the air in The War of the Worlds by H.G. Wells. Ladies and gentlemen, the director of the Mercury Theater and star of these broadcasts, Mr. Orson Welles.
I tuned in with a weather report for you. I was with my children. My husband, he was at the movies. I thought it was all over for us. I just grabbed my children. I sat and cried. Dan, why don't you get dressed? Do you want to die in your working clothes?
We now know that in the early days of the 20th century, this world was being watched closely by intelligences greater than man's and yet as mortal as his own. We now know that as human beings busied themselves about their various concerns, they were scrutinized and studied, perhaps almost as narrowly as a man with a microscope might scrutinize the transient creatures that swarm and multiply in a drop of water. With infinite compliance, people went to and fro over the earth about their little affairs, serene in the assurance of their domination over this small spinning fragment of solar driftwood, which, by chance or design, man has inherited out of the dark mystery of time and space. Yet across an immense ethereal gulf, minds that are to our minds as ours are to beasts in the jungle, intellects, vast, cool, and unsympathetic, regarded this earth with envious eyes, and slowly, surely, drew their plans against us. In the 38th year of the 20th century came the great disillusionment. It was near the end of October. Business was better. The war scare was over. More men were back at work. Sales were picking up. On this particular evening, October 30th, the Crossley Service estimated that 32 million people were listening in on radios.
For the next 24 hours, not much change in temperature. A slight atmospheric disturbance of undetermined origin is reported over Nova Scotia, causing a low pressure area to move down rather rapidly over the northeastern states, bringing a forecast of rain accompanied by winds of light gale force. Maximum temperature 66, minimum 48. This weather report comes to you from the Government Weather Bureau. We now take you to the Meridian Room at Hotel Park Plaza in downtown New York, where you will be entertained by the music of Ramon Rockwell and his piano.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the Meridian Room of the Park Plaza Hotel
Intercontinental Radio News. At 20 minutes before 8 Central Time, Professor Farrell of the Mount Jennings Observatory, Chicago, Illinois, reports several explosions of incandescent gas occurring at regular intervals on the planet Mars. The spectroscope indicates the gas to be hydrogen and moving towards the Earth with enormous velocity. Professor Pearson of the observatory at Princeton confirms Farrell's observation and describes the phenomenon as, quote, like a jet of blue flame shot from a gun, unquote. We now return you to the music of Ramon Rapallo, playing for you in the Meridian Room of the Park Plaza Hotel, situated in downtown New York.
Now we tune that never loses favor, the ever popular Starter by the piano of Ramon Rapallo.
Ladies and gentlemen, following on the news given in our bulletin a moment ago, the Government Meteorological Bureau has requested the large observatories of the country to keep an astronomical watch on any further disturbances occurring on the planet Mars. Due to the unusual nature of this occurrence, we have arranged an interview with the noted astronomer, Professor Pearson, who will give us his views on this event. In a few moments, we will take you to the Princeton Observatory at Princeton, New Jersey. We return you until then to the music of Ramon Rapallo and his piano. We are ready now to take you to the Princeton Observatory, where Carl Phillips, our commentator, will interview Professor Richard Pearson, famous astronomer. We take you now to Princeton, New Jersey.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Carl Phillips speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton. I am standing in a large semicircular room, pitch black, except for an oblong slit in the ceiling. Through this opening, I can see a sprinkling of stars that cast a frostly glow over the intricate mechanism of the huge telescope. The ticking sound you hear is the vibration of the clockwork. Professor Pearson stands directly above me on a small platform, peering through the giant lens. I ask you to be patient, ladies and gentlemen, during any delay that may arise during our interview. Besides the ceaseless watch of the heavens, Professor Pearson may be interrupted by telephone or other communications. During this period, he is in constant contact with the astronomical centers of the world. Professor, may I begin our question?
At any time, Mr. Phillips.
Professor, would you please tell the radio audience exactly what you see as you observe Mars through your telescope?
Nothing unusual at the moment, Mr. Phillips. For instance, swimming in a blue sea, transverse stripes across the disk. Quite distinct now, because Mars happens to be at the point nearest the Earth, in opposition, as we call it.
In your opinion, what do these transverse stripes signify, Professor?
Not canals, I can assure you, Mr. Phillips. Although that's a popular conjecture of those who imagine Mars to be inhabited. From a scientific viewpoint, the stripes are merely the result of atmospheric conditions peculiar to the planet.
Then you're quite convinced, as a scientist, that living intelligence, as we know it, does not exist on Mars.
I should say the chances against it are far than one.
And yet, how do you account for these gaseous eruptions occurring on the surface of the planet at regular intervals?
Mr. Phillips, I cannot account for it.
By the way, Professor, for the benefit of our listeners, how far is Mars from Earth?
Approximately 14 million miles.
Well, that seems a safe enough distance.
Professor Phillips, this wire has just arrived for you.
Thank you, Mary.
Just a moment, ladies and gentlemen, someone has handed the professor a message. While he reads it, let me remind you that we are speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton, New Jersey, where we are interviewing the world-famous astronomer, Professor Pearson. One moment, please. of enormous earthquake proportions occurring within a radius of 20 miles of Princeton. Please investigate. Signed, Lloyd Gray, Chief, Astronautical Division, unquote. Professor Pearson, could this occurrence possibly have something to do with disturbances observed on Mars?
Pardon, Mr. Phillips. This is probably a meteorite of unusual size, and its arrival at this particular time is merely a coincidence. However, we shall conduct a search as soon as daylight permits.
Thank you, Professor. Ladies and gentlemen, for the past 10 minutes, you've been speaking to you from the observatory at Princeton, bringing you a special interview with Professor Pearson, the noted astronomer. This is Carl Phillips speaking. We're returning you to the New York studio.
Ladies and gentlemen, here is the latest bulletin from Intercontinental Radio News, Toronto, Canada. Professor Morris of McMillan University reports observing a total of 3 explosions on the planet Mars between the hours of 7:45 p.m. and 9:20 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This confirms earlier reports received from American observatories. Now, here at home comes a special bulletin from Trenton, New Jersey. It is reported that at 8:50 p.m., a huge flaming object believed to be a meteorite fell on a farm in the neighborhood of Grover's Mill, New Jersey, 22 miles from Trenton. The flash in the sky was visible within a radius of several hundred miles, and the noise of the impact was heard as far north as Elizabeth. We have dispatched special mobile units to the scene, and we'll have our commentator, Carl Phillips, give you a word description as soon as he can reach there from Princeton. In the meantime, we take you to the Hotel Martinet in Brooklyn, where Bobby Millett and his piano are offering a program of dance music.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Carl Phillips again. I'm at the Woolworth Farm, Grover's Mill, New Jersey. Professor Pearson and myself made the 11 miles from Princeton in 10 minutes, but I hardly know where to begin to paint you a word picture of the strange scene before my eyes. Like something out of a modern Arabian Nights. Well, I just got here. I haven't had a chance to look around yet. I guess that's it. Yes, I guess that's the thing directly in front of me, half buried in a vast pit. It must have struck with terrific force. The ground is covered with splinters of a tree. It must have stuck on its way down. What I can see of the object itself doesn't look much like a meteor. At least not the meteors I've seen. It looks more like a huge cylinder. It has a diameter of, what would you say, Professor? What's what? What would you say what is the diameter of this? About 30 yards. About 30 yards. The metal sheet is I've never seen anything like it. Its color is sort of yellowish white. Curious spectators are pressing close to the object in spite of efforts of police to keep them back. They're getting in front of my line of vision. Would you mind standing to one side, ma'am?
What side, man? What side?
While the police are pushing the crowd back, here's Mr. and Mrs. Bowman, owners of the farm here. They may have some interesting facts to add. Mr. Woodward, could you please tell the radio audience as much as you remember of this unusual visitor? They brought into your backyard. Closer, please. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Woodward. Closer, louder, please. Mrs. Woman, Mr. Woman, your story. you hear it? It's a curious humming sound that's coming from inside the object. I'll move my microphone nearer. Oh, here, we're not more than 25 feet away. Can you hear it now? Oh, Professor Pearson.
Yes, Mr. Phillips.
Can you tell us the meaning of the scraping sound inside this thing?
Possibly the unequal cooling of the surface.
I see. Do you think it's medium, Professor?
I don't know what to think. The metal casing is definitely extraterrestrial, not on Earth. Friction would be the evidence that they use to tell us holes in the glass. This thing is smooth, and as you can see, a cylindrical shape.
Just a minute, something's happening, ladies and gentlemen. This is terrific. The end of the thing is beginning to flake off. The top is beginning to rotate like a screw. This thing must be hollow. It's open.
Size 9A? Yeah,
We are bringing to you an eyewitness account of what's happening on Wilmot Farm, Roversville, New Jersey. We now return to Carl Phillips at Roversville.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ladies and gentlemen, here I am in back of the stone wall adjoining the Wilmot Garden. From here I can sweep the whole scene. I'll give you every detail as long as I can talk, as long as I can see. More state police have arrived. They're drawing up a cordon in front of the pit, about 30 of them. There's no need to push the crowd back now. They're willing to keep their distance. The captain is conferring with somebody. We can't quite see who. Oh yes, I believe it's Professor Bishop. Yes, it is. Now they've departed. Professor moves to one side, studying the object while the captain of the police will advance with something in their hands. I can see it now. It's a white pin tied to a pole. A flag of truce. If those creatures know what that means, what anything means, wait, something's happening. The hook shape is rising out of the pit. I can make out a small beam of light against the mirror. What's that? There's a yellow light turning from the mirror. It leads right at the advancing man. It strikes them dead on. Good Lord, it's turning into flame. Now, the other fire, the horse, the barn, the destination of the yellow light. They're spreading out the light. It's fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, due to circumstances beyond our control, we are unable to continue the broadcast from Roversville. Evidently, there's some difficulty with our field transmission. However, we will return to that point at the earliest opportunity. In the meantime, we have a late bulletin from San Diego, California. Professor Ingoldhofer, speaking at a dinner of the California Astronomical Society, expressed the opinion that the explosions on Mars are undoubtedly nothing more than volcanic disturbances on the surface of the planet. We continue now with our panel interview. Ladies and gentlemen, I had just been handed a message that came in from Roversville by telephone. Just one moment, please. At least 40 people, including 6 state troopers, lie dead in the field east of the village of Roversville. Their bodies burned and distorted beyond all possible recognition. The next voice you hear will be that of Brigadier General Montgomery Smith, commander of the state militia at Trenton, New Jersey.
I have been requested by the governor of New Jersey to place the counties of Mercer and Middlesex as far west as Princeton and East Jamesburg under martial law. No one will be permitted to enter this area except by special pass issued by the state or military authorities. All companies of state militia are proceeding from Trenton to Roversville and will aid in the evacuation of homes within range of military operations. Thank you.
You have just been listening to General Montgomery Smith, commanding the state militia at Trenton. In the meantime, further details of the catastrophe at Roversville are coming in. The strange creatures, after unleashing their deadly assault, crawled back in their pit and made no attempt to prevent the efforts of firemen to recover the bodies and extinguish the fire. Combined fire departments of Mercer County are fighting the flames which menace the entire countryside. We have been unable to establish any contact with our mobile unit at Roversville, but we hope to be able to return you there at the earliest possible moment. In the meantime, we take you to... Just a moment, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I have just been informed that we have finally established communication with an eyewitness to the tragedy. Professor Pearson has been located at a farmhouse near Roversville, where he has established an emergency observation post. As a scientist, he will give you his explanation of the calamity. The next voice you hear will be that of Professor Pearson, brought to you by Direct Wire. Professor Pearson.
Of the creatures in the rockets over there at Roversville, I can give you no authoritative information either as to their nature, their origin, or their purposes here on Earth. Of their destructive instruments, I might venture a conjectural explanation. For want of a better term, I shall refer to the mysterious weapon as a heat ray. It is also evident that those creatures have scientific knowledge far in advance of our own. It is my guess that in some way they are able to generate intense heat in a chamber of practically absolute
its intensity, they projected a parallel beam against any object they choose by means of a polished parabolic mirror of unknown composition, much as the mirror of a lighthouse projects a beam of light. That is my conjecture of the origin of the heat ray.
Thank you, Professor Thurston. Ladies and gentlemen, here is a bulletin from Trenton in a brief statement informing us that the charred body of Carl Phillips has been identified in a Trenton hospital. Now here's another bulletin from Washington, D.C. The Office of the Director of the National Red Cross reports 10 units of the Red Cross emergency workers have been assigned to the headquarters of the state militia station outside of Groversville, New Jersey. Here's a bulletin from State Police, Princeton Junction. The fires at Groversville vicinity are now under control. Scouts report all quiet and fit, and no sign of life appearing from the mouth of the cylinder. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a special statement from Mr. Harry McDonald, Vice President in charge of operations.
We have received requests from the militia and Trenton to place at their disposal our entire broadcast facility. In view of the gravity of the situation, we believe that radio has a definite responsibility to serve the public interest at all times. We are turning over our facility to the state militia and Trenton.
We take you now to the field headquarters of the state militia near Groversville, New Jersey.
This is Captain Laxey of the Signal Corps attached to the state militia, now engaged in operations at Groversville. The situation arising out of the reported presence of certain individuals of unidentified nature is completely under control. The cylindrical object directly in front of you in the pit is surrounded on all sides by 8 battalions of infantry without heavy field pieces, but adequately armed with rifles and machine guns. All cause for alarm, if such cause ever existed, is now entirely unjustified. The things, whatever they are, do not seem to poke their heads above the pit. I can see their hiding place plainly in the glare of the searchlights. With all their reported resources, these creatures can scarcely stand up against heavy machine gun fire. Anyway, it's a nice outing for our troops. I can make out their khaki uniforms crossing back and forth in front of the lights. It looks almost like a real war. There appears to be slight smoke in the woods bordering the Millstone River, probably a fire started by campers. Well, we ought to see some action now. One of the companies is deploying to the left flank. A quick thrust and it'll be all over. Now wait a minute. I see something on top of the sill. Oh, no, it's nothing but a shadow. Now the troops are on the edge of the Wilbur Farm. 7,000 armed men closing on the metal tube. Wait, there wasn't a shadow. Something's moving. It's solid metal. A kind of shield-like affair rising out of the cylinder. It's going higher and higher. Why, it's standing on legs. It's actually re-like a sort of metal framework. Now it's reaching above the trees. I see the searchlights. Hold on!
Ladies and gentlemen, I have a great announcement to make. Incredible as it may seem, both the observations of science and the evidence of our eyes lead to the inescapable assumption that those strange beings who landed in the Jersey farmlands tonight are the vanguard of an invading army from the planet Mars. The battle which took place tonight at Groversville had ended in one of the most startling defeats ever suffered by an army in modern times. 7,000 men armed with rifles and machine guns pitted against a single fighting machine of the invaders from Mars. 120 known survivors. The rest flew over the battle area from Groversville, Plainsboro, crushed and trampled to death under the metal feet of this monster, or burned to cinders by its heat ray. The monster is now in control of the middle section of New Jersey and has effectively cut the state through its center. Communication lines are down from Pennsylvania to the Atlantic Ocean. Railroad tracks are torn and service from New York to Philadelphia is discontinued, except for having some of the trains through Allentown and Phoenixville. Highways to the north, south, and west are clogged with frantic human traffic. Police and armed reserves are unable to control the mad right. By morning, the fugitives will have swelled to Philadelphia, Camden, and Trenton. It is established in twice their normal population. Martial law prevails throughout New Jersey and eastern Pennsylvania. We take you now to Washington for a special broadcast on this national emergency. The Secretary of the Interior.
Citizens of the nation, I shall not try to conceal the gravity of the situation that confronts the country, nor the concern of your government in protecting the lives and property of its people. However, I wish to impress upon all of you, private citizens and public and we may place our faith in the military forces to keep them there. In the meantime, placing our faith in God, we must continue the performance of our duty, each and every one of us, so that we may confront this destructive adversary with a nation united, courageous, and consecrated to the preservation of human supremacy on this earth. I thank you.
You have just heard the Secretary of the Interior speaking from Washington. Bulletins too numerous to read are piling up in the studio here. We are informed that the central portion of New Jersey is blacked out from radio communications due to the effect of the heat rays on power lines and electrical equipment. Here's a special bulletin from New York. Cables received from English, French, and German scientific bodies offering assistance. Astronomers report continued gas outbursts at regular intervals on planet Mars. Majority voice opinion is that one may well be reinforced by additional rocket machines. There have been several attempts made to locate Professor Pearson of Princeton, who observed Martians at close range. It is feared that he was lost in a recent battle. Langdon Field, Virginia, scouting planes report 3 Martian machines visible above the treetops moving north towards Somerville, with populations fleeing ahead of them. The heat rays is not news, although advancing at express train speeds. Invaders pick their way carefully. They seem to be making a conscious effort to avoid destruction of the cities and the countryside. However, they stop to uproot power lines, bridges, and railroad tracks. Their apparent objective is to crush resistance, paralyze communication, and disorganize human society. Here's a bulletin from Gaston Ridge, New Jersey. Coon hunters have stumbled on a second cylinder, similar to the first, embedded in the Great Swamp, 20 miles south of Morristown. Army field pieces are proceeding from Newark to blow up a second invading unit before a cylinder can be opened and the fighting machine ready. They are taking up position in the foothills of the Washington Mountains. Another bulletin from Langdon Field, Virginia. Scouting planes report enemy machines now to 3 in number, increasing speed northward, taking over houses and trees, and their evident haste to form a conjunction with their allies south of Morristown. Machines have also been sighted by a telephone operator east of Middlesex, within 10 miles of Plainfield. Here's a bulletin from Winston Field, Long Island. A fleet of Army bombers carrying heavy explosives flying north in pursuit of the enemy. Scouting planes act as guides. They keep the speeding enemy in sight. Just a moment, please. Ladies and gentlemen, we run special wires to the artillery line in adjacent villages to give you the direct reports to the zone of the advancing enemy. First, we take you to the battery of 26